One can see links between migration and security as early as the 1960s in the UK, in particular with Enoch Powell's famous Rivers of Blood speech in April 1968.
We must be mad, literally mad as a nation, to be permitting the annual inflow of some 50,000 dependents who are for the most part the material of the future growth of the immigrant-descended population.
Indeed, this speech could be read as a clear attempt at securitizing immigration, a speech act. The full transcript of this speech is available online, and a link is included at the end of this video. The relationship between migration and security did not come to prominence until the end of the Cold War, and particularly after September 11, 2001. As Sita Bali notes, the 9/11 attacks dramatically reaffirmed the role that international migration can play in international relations generally, and in security issues in particular. Bali notes that this relationship was reaffirmed by the Madrid bombings in March 2004 and the London bombings in July 2005. The relationship between migration and security is not only presented as a threat to security in terms of its role in facilitating terrorism, it is also presented as a threat to social cohesion and cultural identity, to territorial borders, and to social and welfare provision within states. In relation to social cohesion and cultural identity, Jeff Huseman notes, migration is identified as being one of the main factors weakening national tradition and societal homogeneity. It is reified as an internal and external danger for the survival of the national community. He notes further, this discourse excludes migrants from the normal fabric of society, not just as aliens, but as aliens who are dangerous to the reproduction of the social fabric. Migration as a threat to territorial borders is often debated in relation to illegal or undocumented immigration. And finally, regarding social and welfare provision, Huseman notes, scarcity makes immigrants and asylum seekers rivals to national citizens in the labour market and competitors in the distribution of social goods. This has resulted in an increasingly explicit assertion of welfare chauvinism, or the privileging of national citizens in the distribution of social goods. In sum, a range of referent objects are presented in the construction of immigration as a threat: state security, social cohesion and cultural identity, territorial borders, and social and welfare provision. All are referent objects that are likely to have significant resonance with different audiences. Speeches by UK politicians, mostly, though not exclusively, on the right of the political spectrum, have sometimes constructed migrants as threats to social and welfare provision. For example, Jeremy Hunt, then UK Secretary of State for Health, noted his intentions to crack down on what he called health tourism, namely patients coming to the UK with pre-existing ailments in order to access free healthcare. In October 2015, Theresa May, then UK Home Secretary, gave a speech in which she talked about immigration as a threat to national cohesion. Likewise, there has been discussion about how European politicians have linked immigration and terrorism.
We must also have an immigration system that allows us to control who comes to our country. Because when immigration is too high, when the pace of change is too fast, it's impossible to build a cohesive society. It's difficult for schools and hospitals and core infrastructure like housing and transport to cope.
How might we judge the extent to which a relevant audience, for example, the UK voting population or public opinion, has accepted the argument that immigration represents a security issue? One avenue might be to examine the British press, in particular the tabloids, as these papers are ranked highly in terms of circulation. The number of front pages and headlines could be said to demonstrate the salience of this issue in the public mind. If you would like to read more about immigration, the statistics and representation of the issue in the UK press, including all types of papers, you should read William Allen's 2016 report, A Decade of Immigration in the British Press. In addition, statistically, migration is seen to be a key issue and threat by the UK population as exemplified in various polls. For example, in the 2017 Pew poll, 36% of people polled in the UK believed that large numbers of refugees leaving countries such as Iraq and Syria was a major threat to our country. Likewise, Ipsos Mori, in their monthly poll on issues facing the UK, shows that immigration is a key issue in the minds of the British public. In terms of extraordinary measures, we could examine the so-called hostile environment that the Conservative government have been implementing. Liberty explains the hostile environment as a sprawling web of immigration controls embedded in the heart of our public services and communities. The government requires employers, landlords, private sector workers, NHS staff and other public servants to check a person's immigration status before they can offer them a job, housing, healthcare and other support. Landlords and employers can face fines and even criminal sanctions if they fail to do so. According to an Ipsos Mori UK poll, 60% of people are in favour of the hostile environment immigration policy, which the recent Windrush scandal does not seem to have diminished.